All right, this is Daf Yomi in motion, number 812. Today we're going to learn Daf Tzadik Beis in Metzia, and we're going to be continue to speak about the Poel who's working for the Baal Bayis and what he's allowed to eat while he's working. The Mishnah starts on Daf Tzadik Beis Amid Aleph. Zakta like a Mishnah, Ochel Poel Kishius, Afilu B'Kedina. Koseves afilu bedina. So a poel that's working is allowed to eat if he's, let's say, squash like zucchinis, even a dina, which is more than he would usually be taking for his wage. He can eat, just as we saw there's a heter for him to eat, he can eat a lot. He can eat more than his whole wage. Bedina. And he can eat dried dates, koseves, afilu bedina. Also, he can eat a lot of them, even if it's more than his wage. That'll be the Tanakama of Rabbi Elazar. Chasma omer lo yachal poel yoter al scharo. That the Elazar holds that no, poel cannot eat more than what he's getting paid. It doesn't make sense for him to be able to eat. The tosefis should be more than the ikar. The chachamim matirin, their matter, mashma their matter for a poel to eat more than what he makes, or more than his agra, more than his earnings. But the chachamim add about milamdin es ha'adam, but we do teach the person not to do that. Shelo ye'eh rabstan, you shouldn't eat too much. V'ye'eh soyistam es ha'pesach b'fonai, and nobody will hire him on Tzadik Beis Amid Aleph. Nobody will hire him at the Mishnah. Just finished the Mishnah. So the Gemara, what we see here is that the Tanakama said that he can eat kishius or kosevis, even ad dina, which means that more than his wage. And the Chachamim in the Seif of the Mishnah said that he can matirin, he can eat, whereas Rebbe Elazar said that he can't eat, Poel cannot eat more than his wage. The Chachamim said he can. So it seems like the Chachamim is the same shita as the Tanakama. That's the shaila of the Gemara. The Gemara is going to then give two possible answers to that shaila. It seems like they're the same shita. Chachamim, so Zok the Gemara, Chachamim hainu Tanakama, that's the Tanakama. And for the Gemara, two answers here. One, Ik Benaya, we could say that the chiluk between the Tanakama and the Chachamim is Ik Benaya Abam Melamdin, because the Chachamim said we have to teach him not to eat so much. And then the Tanakama would say, no, you leave him alone. You don't have to teach him not to eat. The Tanakama leisle melamdin, we didn't see melamdin. The Rabbanan eisle melamdin, that seems like the first mahalach of the difference between them. Iboy Zema, you could say that there's another chiluk between them. Ik benayu, that the Rav Asi. The chiluk between them would be in the shita of Rav Asi. Hello. To Rav Asi. To Omer Rav Asi, Rasi Shita, Afilu lo scharo ela livtzor eshkol echad oichlai. That Rav Asi has two different halachas. One halacha is that even if a person is only hired livtzor eshkol echad, his whole task is only to pick one eshkol of grapes. And even in a case like that, he's allowed to eat that one eshkol. If that's what his job is, just to pick one eshkol, since there's a heter of a poel to eat when he is working, you can't restrict him. He's even allowed, Rav Asi says, he's even allowed to eat that one eshkol that he's hired to pick. And that would be the machlokas between the Tanakama and Rav Chachamim. Whereas the Tanakama would be saying that in the case where the person was hired for picking what particular small, like a particular, not particular, let's say, on what he is specifically hired for, that he is allowed to eat. And that's what it means, that he can, if he's hired to pick zucchinis, he can eat those zucchinis as much as, like, I mean, he can eat the whole job worth of zucchinis. That would be the Tanakama. Whereas the Chachamim would be saying he doesn't hold of Rav Asi. What the Chachamim would be saying would be that no. When they say mutarim to eat more than the wage that he is getting paid, that means in the case where he's a day worker, he's getting paid to work a whole day, and he then can't, and he's going to get a fixed amount of money for that day. He's allowed to eat perus more than that full wage. But in the case where he's just hired for like one specific, few different specific trees or fruits, he can't eat all of those fruits that he's hired for. And that's what I mean. That's what it would mean. That's where the chiluk could be. It's muta because where Rav Elazar said that you can eat more than your wage, you can't eat more than the wage. The Chacham said you can, in the case where you're a day worker. But and the Tanakama would be holding like of Asi's case where the person was hired just for like some specific to cut down some specific things. And then Rav Asi says the second din. Omar Rav Asi afilu lo botza ele eshkol echad. He says, Ochel, even if so, this second din of Rav Asi is when he's a day worker, meaning that he says that even if you don't eat, Rav Asi's second din is you don't have to put the first, before being able to eat anything, you don't have to put something into the basket for the balabayas first and then start eating. You can take the first bundle that you grab even before giving it to the balabayas and eat it. That's what it means. He hasn't yet picked anything except the one eshkol. He can still eat that, meaning even before putting it into the basket of the balabayas. That's his second din. So now the Gemara is going to tell us why we need these two dinim of Asi, because they do sound similar. The first one said that even if he was hired, Ella lived to one eshkol, he could eat it. And the second din was even if he hasn't yet picked any, he hasn't picked anything yet except he has one eshkol in his hand, he can eat that. So what is the difference between those two? Why do we need both of those different halachas of Rav Asi? The Gemara says we need it. It's a tricha. If we only heard the first din where he says that even if a person lo schoro ela livtzor, he wasn't even hired except to pick one eshkol, and he's allowed to eat it. If we only had that din, I would think, when is he allowed to eat it? In a case like that, where it's not shayach for him to eat anything, it's not shayach for him to put something into the basket first and then eat. And he does have the right to eat. So maybe there you would think that he's allowed to eat from before putting into the basket for the balabayas, because there's not shayach for him to eat otherwise, because there's only one eshkol anyway that he's supposed to be picking. But if there was a lot of vines that he was picking from, you might think he wouldn't be allowed to eat the first eshkol before putting into the basket for the balabayas. So that's why we would need the second halacha to teach us that even when he had a lot of eshkol to pick, he was still allowed to eat the first one that came to his hand. And that's why we needed the second din. That's what Gemara said. If we only heard the first din, that when he was hired for one eshkol, he can eat it. Because it's not possible to put it into the kalim of the balabayas before eating it. Once you put it into the kalim of the balabayas, you can't eat it. For him to be able to eat, you have to eat it before putting it into the kli. And this is the only eshkol he's going to have in his hand, so he's allowed to eat it. However, if there's a lot of eshkolot, I would say he's not allowed to eat the first eshkol that he comes to his hand. He has to first put something in the basket for the balabais, and then he can eat. And that's why we have the second din that says he doesn't have to first put it into the basket for the balabais. He can eat the first eshkol that comes to his hand, even if there's more that he picked. V'yashmin, and if we only heard the second din, that he's allowed to eat, even though there's more eshkolot to pick, he doesn't have to first put the basket for the balabais, and he's allowed already to start eating the first eshkol. If we only had that one, I would think, when is it mutter for him to eat the first eshkol that comes to his hand? When he will be able to put something into the basket later for the balabais. But if there's only one eshkol, and he would never be able, if he eats that one, he won't be able to put anything into the basket for the balabais. I would think he doesn't have the right to eat that first eshkol. That's why we need the first halacha. If we only heard the second halacha, the efshar, I would think that's mutter because it's efshar l'kiyume l'besov. It's possible after he eats it to put it into the basket for the balabais. I would think that he wouldn't be able to eat that first eshkol that comes to his hand. So that's when we build the halachas of Rav Asi, and that is the first, like second of the is and he is anyone else